Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome back, Greg Soulje. He's here with our weekend weather forecast and a little bit of a look into next week as well. So welcome, Greg.
Thank you, sir. Nice to be with you per usual. Yeah, we're not going to spill the beans entirely on next week and anything beyond that. You'll have to check us out on this weekend's edition of This Week in Agribusiness, which will take us to the longer range stuff. The Memorial Day holiday weekend. And I'm sure by then, and certainly well before then, coming off the moisture this weekend, folks will be clamoring, when can we get back out there? So we'll try to answer that this weekend and even on this little get together right now here.
Very good. All right. Well, let me put up your slides and let you get at it.
All right. Happy Friday to one and all, which generally speaking is a pretty acceptable one. There's more moisture back into play in some areas where we don't need it. Others, it's okay. But others have been wanting to move forward on planting operations. On this particular go around and weather system, though, it will be impacting greatly the western Corn Belt locales, at least the system to come, especially into early next week. But in the meantime, pretty good coverage moisture across the eastern Corn Belt locales and a dramatic improvement to the drought monitor. We'll take a look at that in just a minute in many of those eastern and southern Corn Belt locales, parts of the plains, parts of the western complex as well. But still a world of hurt going on in a couple of other areas of the country that we'll take a look at. In any event, soil moisture is still lacking. The worst runners here of soil moisture in pasture lands, including South Dakota and Nebraska, 78 to 80%. And these wide-ranging temperatures that will continue on as well. But again, there may be a little more balancing act on that going on the longer range weather maps and charts. We're beginning to see that warm to hot ridge, the D word, at least on the maps and charts, the mechanism to get that going beginning to show up as we get deeper on into the month of May. But we'll talk about that in greater detail on the TV show. Here the next 48 hours, again, rains for the eastern Corn Belt. They're back into the southern Plain States areas as well. And unfortunately, some of those same southern Plain States areas, including, by the way, look at the moisture through California, some late season moisture for the mountain locales. But while there's been some general improvement to dryness and drought, what do we call it, quality and all that, pasture lands, range lands, we've had some outbreaks of severe weather from time to time south of Omaha, southeastern Nebraska, eastern Kansas, outside of Oklahoma City, that same corridor, and down a couple of days ago, eastern and southern Texas and through Bayou country. So it's been good on one end. Others have been on the shorter side, and everyone once again is a little more balanced in some locales of the Plain States areas. And so we're still not done with the usual spring setup of moisture there too, including severe weather as we get into the early next week time frame as well. In the short term, this afternoon, we'll keep an eye on severe weather played out there again yesterday. Dalhart, Oklahoma, Dalhart, Amarillo, and areas west of the Metroplex, western Texas, some of that cattle and cotton country. Hail, high wind, that potential. But other than that, it's a pretty docile weather system making its way across the middle part of the country. Again, the one into early next week may have a different character to it. Southern states, it's a range from too dry, drought-ridden, and we'll take a look at the drought monitor from yesterday in just a minute. The worst of the dryness and drought, Florida, I believe they've had an elevated risk of wildfires. Had that, think about a month or so ago down there from Orlando and points on southward. So they're still in a world of hurt, but it's been too much of a good thing, and we're still in the runoff mode into the lower Mississippi Valley and Delta region. And in between, they've been able to manage the shower activity right. The warmth has helped, and things are just moving along lickety-split in really good condition crop-wise across the deep south and southeastern sections of the country. So two areas of flooding that we're going to keep an eye on, the ongoing stuff in the lower Mississippi Valley, and streams and rivers will be on the rise on what will be probably a 1 to 3 inch rain cumulative of this weekend's in the current weather system and one moving through early next week. So the specter of maybe some additional field work delays coming back now into the western Corn Belt. And that's an area that had made some relatively good progress over the past week to 10 days. Some reports can't confirm them, but there are some spots that have made double-digit gains, at least on the bean side of planting in the western Corn Belt. And a late season, again, a snow and rain system for California. That's probably it for the season. But they'll get maybe a foot or so into the mountains of the Sierra ranges and some moisture as well into the central and southern northern valleys, I should say, of California. What was a frosty weather pattern into areas of the Rogue River Basin, Willamette Valley of the Pacific Northwest, going to be up around the the 80-degree mark there for this afternoon. There is the drought monitor, by the way, and some substantial improvement. We'll try to get a comparison up here on our next couple of get-togethers from, let's say, late winter to where we're at here now here in the mid to late stretches of April, and it's basically been eradicated over the eastern and southern Corn Belt. Still a couple of drier patches in the parts of east central Illinois, west to the Mississippi, parts of northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, but we're in great shape soil moisture wise. Better than we've had. Eastern and southern areas. Some work to go in the western reaches, back into the northern plains and the southwestern reaches of the country. Unfortunately, that will be the area west of the Missouri, north of I-70, and then trailing back into the southwestern states where I think, are beginning to anticipate that warm, hot ridge. And when they tend to get going, as in the dryness and drought thing, if they begin to materialize over the northern and central Rockies, the plains, and teleconnect to the southwestern states, that kind of is a problem in trying to get organized rains, which is basically the thinking that we've been portraying around here. But in any event, there is the drought monitor, bad conditions, if you will, into the Carolinas, horrible into central and south Florida, and ongoing problems into the Rio Grande Valley of Texas and the desert southwest and southern California. This afternoon, there is the rain making its way across eastern Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Pretty good coverages, probably in the range of 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch. Yes, some field work delays, drought improvement, however you want to spin it. Markedly cooler air will be moving back into the northern plains. Probably a couple of frost patches, parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin can't be ruled out. Again, it's not going to be impacting anything from a summer crop standpoint, but there's going to be a chillier air mass moving into this from the 70 to 80-degree weather to readings in the 50s and 60s over parts of the northern plains and northern corn and northwestern Corn Belt locales into the start of the weekend. By tonight, we've got showers and thunderstorms reorganizing over that same cold front over the southern plains back into the Midwest, some snow across areas of the southern Rockies. There's that next weather system coming in on Saturday to California. The rains are great benefit. This is great news for the winter wheat crop and pasture lands across Texas and Oklahoma. Enjoy it while you may. Probably more rain next week, but more of a severe weather nature to it in some of those plain states areas, and the rains of an organized basis move out of the Ohio Valley. North wind will get skies to clear from west to east across the Corn Belt and to serve up a pretty good late Saturday and Sunday. But you can see already around that clockwise flow, the high, the H's over the southern Great Lakes region already overrunning the cool air with Gulf moisture, a frontal boundary, so you get lift. And the end result are these clusters of scattered showers and thunderstorms, while California and the Pacific West get more moisture, and even into Sunday across the Intermountain West. And you can see the thunderstorm and shower activity picking on up over the western and southwestern Corn Belt, eastern plain states, and that will be propagating north and east along with its severe weather potential Sunday afternoon into Monday and Tuesday. And it goes on ad nauseum through mid next week into the middle part of the country. So welcome moisture, the headlines into the Sierra ranges. Weekend moisture will be of 1 to 2 inches coming out of the southern Cascades, dropping into the Sierra, moving through the Great Lakes region. And that's going to be in addition to another rain system for parts of the Corn Belt, much of the Corn Belt, actually, probably a multi-day shower and thunderstorm event through the first half of next week. And again, as mentioned, severe weather will get going in more broader coverages, if you will, put it that way, in the plain states over the back end of the weekend, much of next week as well, from the plains into the Corn Belt. So next week, the upper air configuration kind of looks like this. Monday, you can see that low and trough, that U-shaped configuration across the west. One little piece of it, if you want to call it that way, kind of lifts into the upper Midwest. That little troughiness is still lingering back into the southern plains, the southwestern states. And so that usually means there's a front kind of stuck in that flow running parallel to it. So we'll have to wait for another wave. And you can see that more dominant U, that trough moving through the northern and central plains Thursday into the Midwest on Friday. And then that arcing area of air into the western states of the Pacific Northwest. That is the ridge. That's the ridge that will, we think, generate a welcome shift, a short-term shift, and maybe play a little more catch-up on the field work and opportunities and for planting and all that into the north and western Corn Belt. Again, we've been favoring that for a more bullish run and more bearish into the eastern and southern sections with time. And so that is the leading edge of that pattern shift towards next Friday and into the following weekend. And there's the potential for probably some 85 to 90 degree air under that. We're into May by then. And so that ridge will be capable of generating those kind of temperatures. So Monday, complex frontal system between Monday and Tuesday strung out from the southern plains into the Corn Belt, on and off showers and thunderstorms, 1 to 2, maybe some spots 3 inches of rain, southern and eastern plains into the western and northern Corn Belt, then propagate that moisture into the eastern and southern areas over Wednesday and Thursday, and finally try to move it out along about Friday. Again, we'll have a little better timing and more regional maps to that on this weekend's edition of This Week in Agribusiness. And so, yeah, you'll get windows of opportunity for something, may not necessarily be field work with runoff and drainage and tile lines, and it all depends on the soil types, but not continuous rains, but they will be on a regular basis through at least mid next week from west to east out of the plains and into the Corn Belt locales. Here's the 7-day outlook, and 2 significant areas back into play once again. Hard hit Oklahoma, the Ozarks into the central and southern reaches of Illinois, Indiana. That's a widespread 1 to 2, some spots 3 inches of rain. Another corridor, drought relief out of the Dakotas, the upper Midwest, western Great Lakes region. So most everybody east of the divide next week will get some significant moisture and something in the gauge, 1/4 to 1/2 inch. They'll take it in the drought areas of western Kansas and Nebraska. These past couple of weather systems have at least kicked back some of those moisture prospects into the drier high plains areas. Quick snapshot on some milder to warmer days into the first week of the month of May. That's the early signature of what's going to be the hot ridge, the warm ridge beginning to materialize. I don't think this is a lockdown of it. Our longer range stuff that you'll see on the TV show kind of retrogrades it south, builds to the west, down to the south, and builds it back in. But that's not until really the Memorial Day holiday weekend. Then we've got trouble lurking beyond that for initially the northern and central plains. And there's the moisture, a little too maybe pessimistic into the northern Great Lakes region, a little more optimistic in across the southern plains. Again, no official endorsement. This looks a little too dry by our standpoint for the Great Lakes and the northern Corn Belt, but again, more promising opportunities for field work in some of those same areas. So, Sarah, that's pretty much it. Basically, the beat goes on around here. A little break coming into the first week or so of the month of May, but it's going to be probably into June, beginning part of June, especially in the eastern and central and southern Corn Belt before we finally shut the rains down. And they'll shut down a little earlier than that, north and west, in some areas that have been well recharged that we have talked about time and time again. Where did the rain go? When are we going to get it back? And that's just something we're going to be chasing around and fidgeting around with much of the summertime season, with, again, expectations of building that hot dome, that drought first into the divide country, the northern and central plains. And anytime you get those dry patterns that come in from the north and northwest, you're chasing severe storm clusters out of the upper Midwest, the derecho effect, if you will. So you get a 1/4 inch of rain, pay the price at 70-mile-an-hour winds. That's the way we'll get rain in some of those northern and eastern Corn Belt locales as we get deeper into summertime, and again, more problematic to the west. And so someone will have it perfect. Others forget about it. Others, it gets burned out. And that's the thinking here. So little change, as my predecessor, Earl Finkel, would say. People would call him on the phone. You just pick it up, say, no change, and hang up on him. So these are long-term customers, mind you, that they used to get Earl's personality. But that's pretty much the thinking. No change from this weather office here going forward here for the next few weeks to come.
Very good. Lots of rain out there, but slivers and windows of opportunity.
Exactly. So, and we've had people come at us and report that, if there's a window for you to do that, don't listen to me. If you see it, go out and get it done, because that will be of your benefit here with these little increments of possibilities going forward here in the next few weeks.
Very good. You can catch Greg's full forecast this weekend on This Week in Agribusiness, which is on RFD TV and another 120 affiliated stations. And we'll be catching up with Greg here again next week on Tuesday and Friday. So we look forward to that and appreciate your time here today, Greg.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you all for joining us.